So the government had promised 40,000 new social and affordable homes by June 2029. We're 2 years in and only 2% of that has actually been completed. With 3 years remaining, is that scheme failing or was it never commercially viable? There's been internal investigations and the reports were provided fully redacted. So basically there's all these secrets about what's actually going on in this department. Wait lists for social housing are just ridiculous, like you're waiting years. There's a homelessness problem in Australia. Free money sounds appealing, but then what happens at the end of the 25 years? A federal government has not built affordable housing, physically built affordable housing in decades.
I mean, we're almost 50% of the way through and we still need 98% complete. So
a bit
it
of
isn't adding up.
A bit of context, it was a $10 billion housing, what's called the Housing Australia Future Fund. So essentially what it is, the government's not actually building these houses. They're providing grants and incentives and lending to private industry to build these projects. But there's a lot of, requirements around it. There's rental caps, obviously, because it needs to be affordable housing. They can't help you.
Because it can be soon come unaffordable.
Correct. So there's a lot of governance around it. There's a lot of rules around it. And as I said, they're two years in and we're at 2%.
And I mean, it's sort of misleading the fact that they said they're going to deliver 40,000 homes because, well, social and affordable homes, I should say, they're actually not delivering them. It's developers who are delivering them. So instead of going out there and supplying them to the market like they said they were going to, they're actually just buying them off developers once they've been, once they've incentivized the developers to supply them.
Correct. And just to put it in context, a federal government has not built affordable housing, physically built affordable housing in decades. I think the last time that an investment was put into it was Kevin Rudd in 2009 and they built 20,000.
Yeah, right.
Nothing has happened since.
Yeah.
I think there's no denying that something needs to happen, but is this the right thing? Is this the best model for it? Well, should they be building themselves?
And that's the thing. Why aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, there's providing all of these incentives, so apparently incentives to developers, but they're still not being developed, so that the incentives aren't that incentivizing.
Wait lists for social housing are just ridiculous, like you're waiting years. There's a homelessness problem in Australia. There's a cost of living crisis, and in my opinion, not enough is being done.
No, not at all.
They're saying they want 40,000 homes. That's great, but we're 2% in.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the reasons why. I think the number one, we said private industry is running this, which then means it has to have a benefit for them. Why the hell would you go and buy a big block of land somewhere and then go down this road if it's going to make a fraction of the profit as if you just went and did your own and built some townhouses and sold them at a profit?
Exactly.
So at the moment, there's rent caps, as I said, because they need to make it affordable. So that puts a bit of pressure on the developer. There's a lot of compliance and reporting, which everyone knows how fun that is. So why would you bother? There's long-term regulation, and no one's really explained what happens after that 25-year period. Yeah. Are you expected to pay back the government loan because they're offering interest-free loans, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But there's thin margins, it's a high cost, and highly regulated. So in my opinion, it's not really appealing enough for developers.
That's why they're not going ahead. I mean, there's probably plenty of other reasons as well, but the fact that only 2% have been complete, it's pretty poor.
Which goes on to the next one. There's a lot of internal issues in this department, so it's an internal department. There's been resignations on the board, there's been infighting, lots of arguing, there's been internal investigations and the reports were provided fully redacted. So basically there's all these secrets about what's actually going on in this department. They then got Deloitte to audit it. Again, the report came back as requested by the government, fully redacted. Yeah. So it's a useless report.
I mean, clearly they haven't gone through and I don't know, did they just come up with this program without actually knowing what was involved?
I think they've gone, we need to build 40,000 homes. You're in charge of it, Aaron. Good luck. Yeah. And then, 2 years later, you've resigned because it's a clusterfuck. Don't know what's going on. Nothing's working. So you've resigned. Got this new guy in. He still doesn't know. So they're asking him questions, and I think his latest response was that they're committed to building, so using the words committed to building 3,000 homes in 2026.
Which is another 8%?
Yeah.
So that gets us to 92% completion?
Yeah, we're getting close. and that then leaves 2 years. You know, it doesn't add up to me.
And what I don't understand, and Brad, you can touch on the funding structure and how the government's trying to incentivise the developers, but you mentioned there that they're giving zero interest loans to these developers to try and incentivise them.
25-year terms. So
25-year terms. Why aren't they incentivising people to go out there and buy land and build their own house with the zero interest loan?
Well, that's right, because that would probably work. Like the thing that you offer that out to 40,000 people, we'll give you an interest-free loan to build a granny flat out the back, and you have to rent it out at an affordable price.
Yeah, it'll be done.
It'd be done. 40,000 people would line up today on an interest-free loan.
100%.
Done. But why do that when we can make it difficult?
Yeah.
Create a department. So when in development finance, you've got usually 3 different funding options, or 3 that usually are used in conjunction. You've got your first, which is the developer's equity, so they're putting in cash or using security from another property. That usually, you're generally going to need about 30% for a development. So they can sometimes do 15% equity, 15% mezzanine finance, it's called. So basically it's a second tier lending. And then you've got what you call senior debt, or it's your main debt, your secured debt, which is usually the 70%. It's a lower interest rate. And, it's secured, and it's usually through a big 4 bank or one of the bigger guys. Mezzanine finance is through a smaller, usually unsecured lenders. Yeah. And obviously you've got your equity. So under this scheme, they're actually offering partial mezzanine and the senior debt, if you want to call it that. So the government's actually giving those funds to you as a loan, interest-free, for 25 years. But then you've got the complexity of what the hell happens after 25 years. We've got to bear in mind that these are very, very thin margined developments, and the cash flow is going to be pretty tight because of the
100%,
because of the capped rent. So a lot of the debt would still be held at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe on a major scale that you're going to be able to pay down this debt in the 25-year period with the rental caps and the other things you've got. So it then becomes like free money sounds appealing, but then what happens at the end of the 25 years? Do you need to refinance it into a higher interest rate? Do you need to sell? What happens at the end? And that's, I think, one of the biggest issues here is no one really understands what's happening here, so they just go, stuff it. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And that, I don't know, it just seems like delivering 40,000 homes is a complex task, but I think they've made it much more complex than it needs to be.
That's governments.
It's just 40,000 homes, like that's all it is.
Yeah.
So, like I said, actually try and incentivize the people to go out there and do the work. And then you're not dealing with the direct relationship with the developer to the government. It's just, here's the scheme, here's the incentives to people, go and do it yourself.
Yeah, they've made it very hard, in my opinion. You think about it on that, you think, 40,000 dwellings is huge, but then, as you said, incentivize homeowners to do it, and look at what you get. I know they've done a similar thing. I think it was Queensland. One of the Queensland governments have done it, haven't they?
Not sure.
Where they're incentivising people. So it's like a CDC process. And
oh, right. We went through that in the Townsville episode.
Yeah, Townsville. So they're offering up to whatever it is to...
I think it was like
a rebate or something.
It was something like, as long as it complies with all of the LEPs and DCPs, whatever they are in the Queensland regulations... Basically, the approval's fast track, similar to a CDC.
Yeah. So,
and again, that's one of the thick questions that I had around this affordable housing. Obviously, they're going to be quite large dwellings. Typically, they're really high density, so that they can build them on a site. Where are they putting them, and how structurally, what's that doing to that market? That we know that housing commission does affect markets. It's decreasing the supply in that market because there's less land available for for that suburb now. But it
Mate.
also detracts from the local properties around there.
Maybe they
So-
need to start releasing Crown land for this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, make it so that you can only get access to certain parcels of land if you go through this scheme.
Yeah.
But I think the current incentives are not enough, and that's why they're falling short. I think that it's been run quite poorly, hence all the resignations and no one really knowing what's going on. And there's too much uncertainty for investors.
100%.
Why would you bother?
Yeah.
You know, most investors are going to want to stick to a smaller scale. This is a large scale with low margins and high risk.
And I mean, there's probably not even enough labour
No.
for the developers to employ to get them complete anyway.
Oh, well, that's our rant done for today. But, drop your comments in. Let us know what your thoughts are on this and what could be done to improve, I guess, the stock or affordable housing stock in Australia, because something definitely needs to be done, and I don't think this is the answer.
No.
Thank you.
See you on the next one.